What's terrifying about being Gen Z is that I think a lot of people are slowly realizing something they were never supposed to realize this early. Nobody actually knows what they're doing anymore. Not governments, not companies, not schools, not adults, not influencers pretending they figured life out at 23. Not even the people running the systems everyone depends on. And once you notice that, it becomes impossible to unsee. Because when you're younger, you kind of assume adulthood is this place where everything suddenly makes sense. Like eventually, you reach this age where people become stable, confident, emotionally certain, financially secure, and fully aware of how life works. Then you grow up a little more and realize most adults are basically just older teenagers with back pain and passwords. Everybody is improvising. And honestly, I think Gen Z is the first generation exposed to that reality constantly. Previous generations were protected from seeing how chaotic everything really was. You saw authority figures occasionally. News came from a few trusted places. Companies looked polished. Institutions looked permanent. Adults looked composed because you only saw fragments of their lives. Now we see everything. We see CEOs panic in interviews. We see politicians embarrass themselves in real time. We see billionaires tweeting like emotionally unstable Reddit users at 2 a.m. We see companies pretending to care about mental health while laying off 10,000 employees over email. Everything feels temporary now, and humans are not good at living inside permanent uncertainty. Your brain wants solid ground. It wants predictable rules. It wants to believe effort leads somewhere understandable. But modern life keeps changing the rules halfway through the game. That's why so many Gen Z people feel anxious all the time, even when nothing specifically bad is happening, because uncertainty itself became the background atmosphere of life. You can do everything correct now and still feel unsafe. You can study hard, get the degree, work hard, build experience, save money, and still feel like your future could collapse because of some random economic shift, AI advancement, rent increase, layoff, wave, or algorithm change completely outside your control that messes with people deeply, especially because humans are built to tolerate hard things better than uncertain things. People can survive stress if the stress feels meaningful. If there's a finish line, if there's a reward, if there's stability waiting at the end of it. But Gen Z grew up in a world where the finish line keeps moving. And after enough years of that, motivation starts breaking in weird ways. That's why I think so many people now feel simultaneously ambitious and exhausted. Everybody wants a better life. Everybody wants freedom. Everybody wants money, stability, happiness, meaning, purpose, all of that. But people also feel this weird underlying hopelessness because the path toward those things feels increasingly unclear. Like even success looks unstable now. That's the part nobody talks about enough. Successful people don't even look relaxed anymore. Influencers are burnt out. Entrepreneurs are stressed constantly. Content creators disappear for mental health breaks every 6 months. High-paying tech workers are terrified of layoffs. Celebrities openly talk about anxiety and depression while living objectively unbelievable lives. So your brain starts realizing something uncomfortable. If even the people who won still look miserable and unstable, then what exactly are we all chasing? And I honestly think that question is haunting Gen Z more than people realize. Because older generations mostly chase survival and stability. Gen Z is chasing emotional peace. That's why this generation talks about mental health so much. People think it's because Gen Z is weak or overly sensitive or obsessed with labels. I honestly think it's because this generation grew up overstimulated to the point where emotional stability became a luxury. And modern life constantly attacks it. Your brain is processing more information in one day than previous generations, probably processed in weeks. News, trends, opinions, arguments, disasters, scandals, wars, memes, AI fears, climate fears, financial fears, relationship advice, productivity advice, health advice, all mixed together every single day through a 6-inch screen. No human nervous system evolved for this, and the scary part is how normal it feels now. People wake up and immediately absorb the emotional energy of thousands of strangers online before even speaking to themselves. That's insane when you actually think about it. You can literally become anxious about problems that do not exist anywhere near your actual physical life. Your brain can be sitting safely in your bedroom while emotionally reacting to economic collapse predictions, relationship discourse, political outrage, AI apocalypse theories, and productivity gurus, telling you your morning routine is destroying your future. Modern life turned human attention into an infinite battlefield. And most people are losing without even realizing it. That's why so many Gen Z people feel mentally fragmented now, like they can't fully focus on anything anymore. Conversations feel shorter. Entertainment feels less satisfying. Attention spans feel weaker, even rest feels incomplete, because the brain never fully exits stimulation anymore. There's always another notification, another update, another video, another opinion, another thing demanding emotional energy from you. Silence almost feels uncomfortable now. And honestly, I think that's one of the scariest realizations Gen Z is starting to have. A lot of people no longer know how to exist without distraction, which sounds dramatic until you actually test it. Most people cannot sit alone with their thoughts for 10 minutes without instinctively reaching for stimulation. Music, TikTok, YouTube, messages. anything, because distraction stopped being entertainment. It became emotional protection, and underneath all that distraction is usually the same fear nobody wants to sit with. What if my life never really becomes what I hoped it would? That's the quiet fear sitting underneath this entire generation, because Gen Z grew up being told they could become anything. Which sounds inspiring, but psychologically, it created impossible expectations. You're not just supposed to survive anymore, you're supposed to become exceptional. Find your passion, build a dream career, travel the world, stay attractive, stay relevant, make money online, build a personal brand, be emotionally intelligent. Be successful before 30, be interesting, be unique, be fulfilled. Modern culture accidentally turned existence into a constant audition. And social media made it worse because now everybody can see everybody else performing their lives publicly all the time. So normal life starts feeling inadequate. A regular job feels embarrassing. A regular body feels embarrassing. A regular relationship feels boring. A regular life feels like failure because online you're constantly comparing your behind-the-scenes existence to everybody else's highlight reel. And eventually people stop asking, am I happy? They start asking, am I impressive enough? That shift destroys people mentally because impressiveness has no finish line. There's always somebody richer, fitter, younger, smarter, more attractive, more productive, more disciplined, more successful. The internet guarantees that. So people keep running harder and harder without ever feeling like they've arrived anywhere emotionally. And I think Gen Z is beginning to realize something terrifying because of this. A lot of modern ambition is not actually driven by desire anymore. It's driven by fear. Fear of falling behind, fear of becoming irrelevant, fear of being ordinary, fear of wasting potential, fear that everybody else figured something out before you did. And when fear becomes the engine behind your life, even achievement starts feeling empty. You accomplish one thing and immediately move the goalpost again, because the internet trained people to treat their lives like unfinished projects instead of experiences. Everything is optimization now. Optimize your body, optimize your sleep, optimize your focus. Optimize your dopamine, optimize your income, optimize your habits, optimize your social skills, optimize your future. People are basically treating themselves like software now. Constant updates, constant improvements, constant dissatisfaction, and eventually self-improvement stops feeling healthy and starts feeling like quiet self-hatred disguised as productivity. That's why so many people feel guilty all the time now. Guilty while resting, guilty while relaxing, guilty while watching a movie, guilty while doing literally nothing. Because somewhere along the way, people started believing their value depends entirely on constant output. And AI is making this feeling even scarier now, because for the first time ever, people are genuinely questioning whether human skills themselves are becoming temporary. Writers see AI writing, artists see AI generating art, editors see AI editing, programmers see AI coding, students see AI answering homework instantly. And even if AI doesn't fully replace people, it still creates this psychological instability where nobody knows which skills remain valuable long term. That uncertainty changes how people think about the future. Previous generations mostly worried about building a career. Gen Z worries whether careers themselves will still exist in recognizable forms. That is a completely different type of anxiety, especially because life advice now expires insanely fast. Someone can build a successful path online and 6 months later the algorithm changes and the entire strategy dies overnight. Degrees become outdated faster. Industries evolve faster. Trends move faster. Nothing feels permanent enough to emotionally trust anymore, which is probably why nostalgia became so huge online. People constantly romanticize older eras, now early internet. Childhood cartoons, old YouTube music from 10 years ago, simpler times. Because people are craving stability emotionally, not even necessarily the past itself, just a feeling that life used to move slower. And honestly, maybe it did. Modern life feels like humanity accidentally pressed fast forward on civilization without fully understanding what that would do to human brains. Everything became faster than human psychology could adapt to. Faster communication, faster entertainment, faster trends, faster careers, faster relationships, faster outrage, faster expectations. But human emotions are still basically ancient. Your nervous system still reacts to social rejection like survival danger. Your brain still compares status constantly. Your body still needs rest, silence, meaning, connection. Technology evolved exponentially faster than human biology did. And I think Gen Z is the first generation fully experiencing the consequences of that mismatch in real time. Which sounds depressing, but honestly, I don't think this realization is entirely bad. Because once you realize most systems are unstable, fake, performative, or confused, you stop worshiping them so much. You stop blindly assuming status equals happiness. You stop assuming money automatically fixes identity. You stop assuming productivity equals self-worth. You stop assuming adulthood magically creates certainty. And weirdly, that realization can become freeing. Because maybe the goal was never to perfectly optimize yourself into becoming some flawless, successful machine. Maybe the goal is just learning how to stay mentally and emotionally alive inside an environment constantly trying to overwhelm you. And honestly, I think that's what Gen Z is actually fighting right now. Not laziness, not weakness, not entitlement, overload. Pure psychological overload. Too much information, too much comparison, too much uncertainty, too much pressure, too many choices, too many expectations, too much stimulation. All hitting human brains that fundamentally still evolved for slower, smaller, simpler lives. And the terrifying realization Gen Z is having is that modern life might not naturally slow down on its own. People are going to have to consciously protect their attention, identity, peace, and sanity in ways previous generations never had to think about. Because if you don't, the internet will gladly consume your entire sense of self and replace it with performance, comparison, noise, and exhaustion. And honestly, the fact so many people are still trying to build meaningful lives anyway is probably one of the most impressive things about this generation.